What's up, y'all? College football is approaching fast. Check out another version of the Boss in the Sauce show coming up right now. Oh yeah, right back at you with another Boss in the Sauce. This time we're going over to the Big 12 College Football Preview 2019, and I got my bro, the BigRagoo in the house. BigRagoo, what up? Say something to the people.
Hey, we're going to rock this thing out again. We're talking Big 12 today. We just fresh off our Big 10 the other day, but you know what it is? Big 12, Big 10. The Big 12 has got 10 teams. The Big 10's got 14 teams. Maybe they should just take 2 teams and borrow, and we can be right back in order again with the Big 12 and the Big 10. But today it's the Big 12 for us. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited. It's getting ready to go down more sooner than later at this point. And we crunching it up. I'm studying hard, man. I ran into a sleep bump the other day. I was studying and just crashed out with the books in my face, man. So it's been exhausting but exciting at the same time. And I'm just fired up, man, getting my bankroll ready because we about to do some big things with this college football this year. But, you know, it's the Boss in the Sauce show. Let's get right into it. First up, Baylor Bears. Now, this is a third-year coach, Matt Rhule. He gets his best offense yet right here. He has 8 returners, including a solid quarterback. Coach Matt gets blessed in the defense side as well. He gets 7 starters back in a system that already allowed an average of 31.7 points a game. The word for this year and this team is improvement, and they're going to wear it proudly. I'm going to give this team 9 wins in 2019.
Yeah, nine wins. That's probably pretty close, my man. That's a solid look on this squad. Like you said, Matt Rhule comes back for his 3rd year, and he's got one heck of a quarterback in Charlie Brewer. Now, if it wasn't for Sam Ehlinger on the Texas squad, this guy would be the creme de la creme in the conference. He's a heck of a quarterback. But the only downfall to this offense is last year they allowed 39 sacks, which is the worst in conference. And if they could improve on that, they bring in a JUCO All-American, Blake Beater, the right tackle. And Brewer, like I said, he's got a gritty style, and he's the 2nd best in conference as far as all his numbers go, just behind Ehlinger. And I look for some good things with this offense. They do struggle on first down, though. That's their big Achilles heel. They're 111th in the FBS out of 130 on first downs. And the coach Rhule has a knack of playing a tough style of football, a punch in the mouth style as it is. I look for good things on offense with this squad.
Well, there it is. You heard our size. Now we're going to bring it all together right here. Huddle up. So, looking at this Baylor Bears team right here, they were 7-6 last year. This year, all hopes are up right here. Here's a quote out the Lindy magazines from Coach Matt Rhule. He says, "It's time to grow up as a football team, grow up as a program, and have a championship mindset where we are attacking everything." And I believe in him this year. He has the right squad to do it. And also, he starts off a nice stretch easily. He can go 4-0 with a win against Ohio State. They open up against Stephen Austin. They play UTSA. Then they're at Rice. Then they have to see Iowa State. Then they're at Kansas State. If they can get past Iowa State, they may make it to about 5, maybe even 6-0 when they have to see Texas Tech. But I got a lot of hope in this 3rd-year coach right here. He's all locked and loaded and ready to go. Any last words on this one for you, BigRagoo?
Yeah, they were dead last in the on the points allowed. They, like you said, they allowed almost 32 points a game on defense. And Matt Rhule, you know, his roots start in Temple, so he has that smash mouth mentality. So I think this year they're making a little bit of changes on defense. They're trying to, like I say, on the offensive side, you know, they do get good offensive production. So if they can just tighten that D up a little bit, this team's going to be a contender down the stretch. You know, last year I think they finished at 7-6, and I've got them, you know, at least 8-4, maybe 9-3, like you said. You like it for 9 wins. So this team's going to be playing late in December. and they're going to get the regular season going. They open up at Stephen Austin, and then they play UTSA, University Texas San Antonio. Then they play Rice. So they got 3 cupcakes right out the gate, and then they play a tough Iowa State squad at home. So they could be looking at possibly 4-0, get by that Iowa State game, and then they got K-State. So look for good things out of this squad. I like them a lot.
I like it too, man. You like it, I love it. 9 wins for the most improved team right here in the Big 12, the Baylor Bears. Let's see who's up next.
All right, we're talking Iowa State Cyclones, right? Matt Campbell, head coach, in his 4th season, 7 offensive starters coming back, 7 on the defensive side. It's the first time that Iowa State in back-to-back years had 8 wins in 37 seasons, okay? Now, they lose David Montgomery, running back, NFL bound, and they also lose Keem Butler, wide receiver. But this team has got a lot of talent, and they plan on bringing back a lot of the senior leadership on the offensive side of the ball. Let's start talking about Brock Purdy, the quarterback. He was a true freshman last year. After the team started 1-3, they bring this kid in, and he runs 7-2 to finish up a nice season at 8-5. What they did lose to Washington State in the bowl, but they did finish solid in a close game there. And basically, he's kind of like a Sam Ehlinger. He's a real tough quarterback. His sophomore season, I look for big things out of this kid. Now, defensively speaking, Iowa State was ranked 1st in the Big 12 in scoring, averaging just 22.9 games against. So that's a solid look there. And I think they're going to turn around, and they're going to probably finish up with about 8 wins is what I got them sitting at. They open up at Northern Iowa. Then they play their arch rival Iowa, 2nd game of the season, UL Monroe, and then at Baylor. So they could be looking at probably a 3-1 or at worst a 2-2 start, I think, to start the season off. What do you think?
Now, the way I see it, 4th-year coach Matt Campbell is locked and loaded in this year. He returns 5 offensive linemen plus quarterback Brock Purdy on the offensive side. Now, the Iowa State has created a defensive consistency in the last 2 seasons. The defense averaged 20.9 and also gave up 22.9 in 2018. Now, in 2019, they should continue the same thing there on defense with 8 returners this year. Looks nice for Coach Matt Campbell on defense and offense this year. But this is the best group for him at Iowa State and his whole tenure there. And I'm optimistic for Iowa State, and I'm giving them a 9-10 season. What you think about that, BigRagoo?
Yeah, I like them. I like them. I like at least 8, probably around 9 wins is what I'm looking at from this squad here. Like I say, they got to finish up real light against Kansas and Kansas State, both in rebuild mode. And then before they face them, they got a little tough stretch after they play West Virginia, Texas Tech, West Virginia rebuild, Texas Tech, up and comer, Oklahoma State, solid ball club, Oklahoma, Texas, then Kansas and Kansas State. So they probably got maybe like two or 3 losses in there, but I see a solid 8-9 wins for this team.
Now, last year they was 8-5. They had a loss to at Texas. They lost at TCU. They lost at Iowa. They also lost at Oklahoma. And they also lost in the bowl game against Washington State. So from the looks of their schedule, they haven't really beat any good competition. So coming into this year, they definitely going to take a notch up, and I expect them to knock off 1 or 2 of those big competitions this year. And the competition is a slightly smaller card this year. They see Iowa, of course, but they're at Baylor. They see TCU, Oklahoma State, which is here nor there, and then also Oklahoma, then Texas. Now, if they can prove to be a tough team and this offensive powerhouse they're going to have with a solid line and a nice quarterback, and also, I'll quote this out the Lindy magazine as well, they have top newcomer running back Breece Hall, the Wichita, Kansas native who chose Iowa State over Iowa, Kansas State, Michigan, and Nebraska, among others, in choosing to come over here to this Iowa State squad. Now, this squad is definitely ringing bells, and they're on the up in the league. Period. And now that they're getting recruits that could have went to Iowa and went to Iowa State, maybe that could be the difference for them to beat Iowa State this year and quite a few more. So, like I said, I'm looking for them to have an excellent season this year. Defense wins games, and they're consistent on that side. And experienced quarterback, experienced line, you can't go wrong with that. And I'm definitely looking at a 9 to 10 win season with this one. Any last words, BigRagoo?
Yeah, you talk about the commitment that they got with Brees Hall, the running back. Like I say, they did lose two major weapons on the offensive side. This team ranks 1 and 2 in scoring and passing on defense and total defense. So that's a good look for this squad, especially in a division that's an air attack style division. Now they do have two really strong safeties, senior Braxton Lewis and Greg Elworth, some leadership there, and they're really tight on linebackers and defensive ends. So this team is solid on defense. They stepped their offensive game up just a little bit. They could be competing for one piece of the Big 12 championship.
Well, there it is. There, you heard it right here on the Boss and the Sauce show, real, live, and direct to all our people out there. So, give us a thumbs up in the chat. Make sure you follow, subscribe. But that was the Iowa State Cyclones, and we're gonna move on over to the next team. Here we go, Kansas Jayhawks right here. Now, this is an interesting story. Coach Les Miles inherits a dumpster fire right here. The previous coach had the wrong players for the wrong system. They ran an air raid system and only averaged 23 points on offense last year. To add injury to insult, they got player drama with the running back Pookie, and it's causing a bunch of friction in the background. Now, Les Miles is a quality coach. Last job he had was over at LSU. He's came from some quality places. So I don't know how he got this job, but he's here now. And he's returning 5 on offense, 5 on defense. That's a basic start. He's having a solid start right there. And Les Miles could be the man to take this team where they need to go. But they don't have the proper talent in the proper place, and it's going to take some time for this one. I expect the same thing, maybe an extra win out of this squad for the year. But Kansas Jayhawks not taking care of business like they should on the football field.
Yeah, Les Miles, the Riverboat Gambler, showed up as a surprise coach for this team. This is probably like one of the worst Power 5 teams in all of college football as far as that goes. I mean, the last 4 years, they won a total of 6 games and lost 42. And in conference, they've only had 2 wins with 34 losses. So it's going to be a daunting task for Les Miles to kind of, put this thing together. And I know he's getting up there in age, and I think he wants to win a national championship, but that might not happen in his lifetime. But, he's probably got a good 4 or 5 years, 6 years left, maybe longer to coach. And hopefully, he does have some success. Now, the one bright spot, they got a kid named Stephen Parker, linebacker, that came to Kansas over Nebraska and Texas Tech. And their special teams, they have probably some of the best special teams in the conference and the kicking game. A lot of excitement that Coach Miles is going to bring there. At KU, they got a new stadium they're doing. The alumni is really excited about it. So, it's going to be more of a rebuild, that's for sure. Now, defense, the entire front seven's gone, so they bring in a whole new mediocre, very mediocre crew on defense. We know that. So, it's definitely rebuild. It's definitely Les Miles' recruits. He's going to have a great time recruiting out there. And the one thing we know for sure that the style of football he likes to play, it's an exciting style of football. But I don't think we're going to see that transition in his first year, with no doubt. I got to peg maybe like 2 wins. They open up with Indiana State and Coastal Carolina, and then it's tough sledding from that point on.
I mean, if they've invested, the alumni and the school invested in a new stadium, invested in Les Miles, maybe they try to get the squad on the right track. But like I said, the players and the systems don't match up. It's going to take a few years for Les Miles to get the troops to believe in his system right here. But it smells kind of fishy to me, Big Ragu. I don't know. Les Miles, here you go. He went away for a while, comes back and gets a hold of this squad. Maybe he knows somebody in the office over there that hooked him up a nice job, and this is a cool little retirement plan. Maybe he owes some money out there, and he's trying to make a little ends meet right now. So he's coaching this team, but I don't see the motivation on the field. I don't see the team doing the right thing. But I mean, it's obviously that the last coach had this team just totally all over the place.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over to the Lindy magazine with a quote right here from Coach Miles. And this after reading this quote, I was like, well, we'll discuss this quote, Big Ragu, after I read this one. I want to know your opinion on this one now. Coach Miles says, I think we're more talented here in my first year compared to the other opportunities I had to be the head coach. Like, what do you think he's saying right there? What is he trying to say, Big Ragu? Is that a sales pitch?
Yeah, I think it's a bunch of sugarcoat because there's no way in the world. I mean, come on, 6-42 the last 4 years, 2-34 in conference. There ain't a whole lot to sugarcoat there. It's just more like I would call it a love session for him and the AD and the alumni. So yeah, he's a positive guy. He's always going to put his spin on things. So I do like his style though. The guy he puts his heart out there. I call him the riverboat gambler. He's went up against some of the best coaches in the SECs over the years. He's gambled and won and gambled and lost. So the guy is a winner. I like his style. I'm not going to put all the stock in Les Miles because listen, he's got assistants he's got to bring on board. Les Koenig is his offensive coordinator, DJ Elliott on defense, and in Lawrence, Kansas, we'll see what happens. We know they got a great basketball program. Let's see if they can transition some of that onto the football field within the next couple, 3 or 4 years.
I don't know, Big Ragu. It smells like unseasoned chicken to me. But we're going to get out of here on Kansas Jayhawks Big 12 College Preview brought to you by Boss and the Sauce Show. Let's get to the next squad. All right, here we go. We land on Kansas State right here. Now, first-year coach Chris Kilman, he plans on a smooth transition right here in 2019. Now, the offense does get back 6, including a healthy quarterback, Skylar Thompson. And also, they get an exciting transfer running back, James Gilbert. Now, the Wildcats defense has to be the core of this team this year to get them to the next level. Last year, they only gave up 25 points a game, and this year, they returned 8 from that defensive squad. Now, maybe there were some things going on in the background over at Kansas State last year, but this year looks way more promising them. I definitely don't see them going 5-7 again. I got them down at 7 wins.
Yeah, well, listen, Bill Snyder was the face of K-State football for a lot of years. I mean, that guy basically put the program on the map. He's a legend, and I think towards the end, just kind of slid out, kind of rode his horse off into the sunset. But now who they bring in, Chris Kleiman. Now, Chris Kleiman, for those of you who don't know who he is, there's a little team called North Dakota State, an FBS team, right, or FCS team. This team won 4 national championships in the last 5 years, and he coached a guy named Carson Wentz. So the guy's a winner. He's a defensive-minded type of coach. He brings in his defensive coordinator with him. They're going to be playing some aggressive style of football close to the line of scrimmage. Now, you could take all the stats from last year and throw them out the window. Talent-wise, with the squad, with the teams, the players they have left, 8 on defense, like you said, a lot of seniors there. So I look for them to corral the troops and kind of improve upon that 5-7 record that they had last year. They start out with Nicholls State, Bowling Green at home, and then they go on the road to take on Mississippi State and Oklahoma State. So I project them to maybe finish up pretty close to the 5-7, but maybe like 1 or 2 wins, maybe tops, maybe 6 wins, 7-win season. This is going to be an exciting time for this program because number one, it's sad and bittersweet. They get rid of Snyder, but they bring in a champion. This guy knows how to win football games, and I look for big things on the horizon for K-State.
Now, the people over at Lindsay Magazine, they caught up with K-State's coach, Chris, and he says this, I quote, "We're still light years away and from being ready to play the game, but I notice how we want them in practice. Guys were really buying into this, and this was right after spring practice. So he's saying they got a balanced group right here, excuse me, that's buying into the system a little bit, and that could make a successful thing right there. And 5-7 is really a low mark for a team that's willing to play defense. So I think that 7 wins looks more proper for Kansas State this year. Any last words on K-State, BigRagoo?
Yeah, like I said, they're going to probably put the pieces together on offense. I'm really curious to see how this defense kind of gels together with this style of play they're going to bring, because the Big 12, it's kind of like it's an offensive jargon. I mean, we always talk about how they air it out in the Pac-12, but the Big 12, that there's a lot of high scoring offense, high flying offenses over there, a lot of air attacks. So with them playing close to the line of scrimmage, they're really going to put some pressure back on the corners and the safety. So we'll see how they adjust, when they go play Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Iowa State, those type of teams. We'll see those will be later games in the season for these guys, though. But after they'll have probably about 4 or 5 games under their belt. So I'm looking forward to watching this team play to see what kind of product they put on the field.
That's right. Well, just to note that, most of these teams right here in the Big 12 are mostly all turf teams, and that contributes to the offensive success and the overs in these Big 12 games. But that's K-State Wildcats right there. You heard it first right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. Who is up next?
One, Oklahoma Sooner, baby. Boomer Sooner. OU stands for Offensive University. And Lincoln Riley, he's cranking them out. Heisman Trophy candidates, that is. Back-to-back Heismans, right? Now he brings in Jalen Hurts. Could he be number 3? We will see. What do we do know? We do know that Oklahoma boasts the number 1 offense in the Big 12 and the number 1 offense in the FBS. So they will be missing some pieces on the offensive line, but they bring in C.D. Lamb. He's going to step it up there, I believe. And Marquez Brown was the number 1 pick of the Oakland Raiders. And the offensive line will need to fill in some gaps for sure. But the defense has been the big thing from keeping the Oklahoma championship picture. Will they make it back this year? That remains to be seen. But they do have an explosive offense. They score points at will over University also, which they do bring the offense. And they're last in the Big Ten in defense. Not only are they last in defense, they're last in the FBS in defense. They rank 130 in defense. That's hard to believe, isn't it? So what do you think about this team, DJ?
Well, the way I see it, this third-year coach, Lincoln Riley, he's reaching in the transfer trick bag again. And this time, he draws Alabama's quarterback, the number 2 quarterback at Alabama, Jalen Hurts. Now, he's returning only 4 on offense and 8 on defense, and losing 4 O-line last year will be a struggle for this Oklahoma team. Last year's defense gave up an average of 33 points a game. The defense this year should bring that back down a little bit to 27 points a game like it was in 2017. Now, the jury's still out on Oklahoma's offense, and the defense has to become stud to carry them into the 2019 season. The public and the Sharps are high on this Oklahoma teams. I see at least 2 losses in the 2019 season. Now, I don't know where you at with this Oklahoma team, but they're not pulling the blinds over my head on this one. These guys right here, they struggle every year with defense. They give up so many points. They have to score so many points. Here they are. Now, he digged in there, got Baker, was good. He digged in there, got Murray, was good. I don't think Jalen Hurts' skill set is nothing like those guys. And I don't think that this Oklahoma team is going to be as successful as people think. Anything else you got to say on that one, the Big Ragu?
Yeah, the Achilles heels for this team is definitely going to be on the defense. Without making leaps and bounds of improvements there, I mean, you cannot play up with the Alabamas and the Clemsons in the college football playoff system and expect to outscore those guys because they're just going to run the ball right down your throat. And especially if you can't defend, it's going to be an ugly scenario. So, I mean, they will compete in conference. There's no doubt about that because the way the conference set up, they will score points and they'll hold their own in those gunslinging contests. But when you take it up a notch in the big picture, that's where they're going to stumble. But I do like this team to probably grind out at least 11 wins at the bare minimum. I see them going 11-2, and maybe if they match up with Texas later on down in the season, if they don't trip up, they might have come away with one loss in conference. So I'm looking at a 12-win season and probably 8 wins in the Big 12.
Well, I think this is going to be a disappointing season for the fans and the people who are high on Oklahoma. I don't see the matchup with Jalen Hurts coming in here having to score like he's going to have to score with this team. If you look at the type of systems that Alabama run compared to Oklahoma, it's like night and day. Alabama runs a basic system. They pride themselves in speed and strength and beating you to the punch. This Oklahoma team, they pride themselves on outscoring the other opponents. Jalen Hurts hasn't been in the system where he's constantly throwing the ball down the field like that, and I think he's going to get in trouble. And they better have the backups ready if they want to crawl out of this with Jalen Hurts back there. You talk about a guy who got his position snatched in the middle of a championship game. I don't think he holds that S on his chest to be the one to lead Oklahoma to the destiny, though. Anything else, Big Ragu, before we close this one up?
Yeah, well, a lot remains to be seen with Hurts. I mean, he is a run-pass option type quarterback. He'll probably fit well into in the Lincoln Riley scheme of things. Maybe not the best passer of all time, but I mean, he can make plays happen with his feet, and he is an athlete. I will give him credit there. So that's going to be the big question mark for the success of this team. Hurts' ability to get the ball down the field, and the defense come late in the season to progress on to if they have a shot to get in the college football championship.
Well, stay tuned to the Boss and the Sauce Show. We will have an eye or two. We'll have them on this team. Oh, yeah, we'll have 4. We'll have 4 eyes on this team right here to see how this transition works out right here, and hopefully we can cash some money on some bets getting in between those looks. But
over.
You heard it right here on the Boss and Sauce. Who is up next? Here we go. The Oklahoma State Cowboys. Now, Coach Mike Gertie pulls a rabbit out of his hat this year, hiring offensive coordinator Sean Gleason. But the offense will be determined by a redshirt freshman QB Spencer Sanders and how well the running back rotation works out with him. Now, they are solid at the wide receiver and the O-line position, but the defense has a tradition of bending and breaking, and the Cowboys need to saddle up this defense that was giving up 452 yards per game, which would only lead them to another 7-6 season. So I got them locked in at another 7-6 season right here.
Hey, head coach Mike Gundy has been there 15 years, right? Going in 16 years. He gets 5 on defense, 5 on offense. So last year, they finished up at 7-6 with a bowl upset win over Mizzou. Now, you talk about upsets. This team upset 4 ranked teams last year. So they're like that sniper in the woods looking to take you out. But they also lost to 5 unranked teams. But they bring back and wide receiver Tyler Wallace, who was a Biletnikoff finalist, and they bring in a freshman running back. Check this name out, Chuba Hubbard, right? 740 yards total offensive rushing yards. And after making him the starter in the last 4 games of the season, he finished up with 425 yards in those 4 games as a starter. They get a new look OC offensive coordinator, Sean Gerson, an Ivy League coach from Princeton, I believe, and he runs a quarterback run option style of play with a ton of playmakers on the offense, and they take their former QB Jelani Woods and converted him to tight end. So I look for a lot of trick plays out of this squad to make some stuff happen on the offense. Defensively speaking, they rank dead on the bottom. A lot of categories dead towards the bottom of the league, and they can improve there. And I don't know. I think it sets up for a lot of to be desired on the defensive side. You got anything else you want to talk about with the squad?
Now, I'll just quote out the Lindy magazine that Coach Mike Gundy says this about the new hire offensive coordinator, Sean Gleason. Both his offenses last 2 years have dominated the Ivy League and have produced two different quarterbacks who were named Ivy League Offensive Players of the Year. So he's taking a chance right here, reaching in the bag. I think this team won a lot of games by pace. Like, they're used to scoring a lot of points because they don't play no defense, and they caught teams that are pretty good. You know how the teams take off at the beginning, and then late in the stretch they tire out, and then that's when teams like Oklahoma State can push the upset ballot on you right there. So I don't expect that as something they could just turn on and turn off whenever they want. So I don't know how well that is. If you look at the X's and O's right here, they have a really, really young team. Only a few senior starters right here. They got the new offensive coordinator. I would say overall like a balanced squad right here, but they got some spots to get better at. Definitely on defense.
Yeah.
They got to close the gap on how much yardage they giving up. And offense last year, they were averaging 38.4 points a game, which is good enough to win games. So if they can get the offense to continue what they was doing last year and get the defense to close their gap some here, then maybe they could become a real contender. But if they don't they already letting you know the bad decision was already made going after an offensive coordinator instead of a defensive coordinator. So they might be feeling the wrong holes and the boat still sinking. But only time will tell. We'll see what goes down on the field. Any last words?
Yeah, the rough spot on the defense, especially with the DB, they had to start 3 freshmen on the defensive secondary last year. So they should probably make some improvements there. I mean, the defense will have some issues, with a bunch of new defensive linemen this year. And the only thing favorable, they do have a little bit lighter schedule than they had last year. So I'm going to be looking at maybe getting them around the probably the 7-8 win mark. Even though they had the same type of scenario last year, maybe they compete a little tougher in the conference this year.
Hey, I say same thing. 7-6. Maybe a small early bowl game. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Sounds good to y'all. Sounds good to my man, BigRagoo. We're going to move over to the next team on the Boss and the Sauce. And, yo, if you don't subscribe, make sure you subscribe, like, follow, tell a friend, and keep this going. We got more content coming to y'all soon, but we off to the next team. Now, TCU Horned Frogs right here. Let's take a look at the TCU Horned Frog. Coach Patterson survived his banged-up team in 2018 with the 7-6 season after his bowl win versus Cal. Now, the offense suffered the most on this one, missing the QB, O-line, and running back due to injury last year. Now, so many returned from injuries this year, they're totaling 8 on offense, but the QB will still be the test for this team this year. The defense brings back 5, same as last year, but this year they have standout defensive lineman Blacklock, who will be back in action. Now, I don't care for returning injured players. They can go either way. They could either learn from their injury, come back and play harder, or they could come back from injury or basically never come back from injury and basically slowly go downhill and wrap it up. So I can't really put my money on the injured players until you can actually see which side of the spectrum are they coming back. Are they coming back for the kill to be better, or are they coming back and gonna go downhill? But that's my take on that one. Keep your money in your pocket. Watch them for 3 or 4 games before you decide what you want to do with TCU.
Yeah, TCU last year, I think they were 7-6. 4 losing record in conference though, 4-5. Gary Patterson, He's in his 19th season. 19 seasons, all right? Or actually 20. He's going in his 20th season. He's there for 20th season. He's got the longest tenure in college football outside of Kurt France of Iowa. This guy knows how to win football, and he's a heck of a coach, all right? So last year, the team, like you said, they were banged up really, really badly, a ton of injuries. The strength of the team is definitely in the defensive side of the ball, and they will have the number one defense in the Big 12. So we all know that defense wins your games, right? So this team will compete just on defense alone, just for that matter. And I think last year they had the number one ranked defense in conference. They were giving up they were only giving up like 23 points a game. And that conference, that's pretty damn good because I'm some high-scoring teams in the Big 12. On offense, here we go again. For the second straight year, this team will need a QB. They lost Sean Robinson, who transferred to Mizzou, and they returned. They do return on their star wide receiver, Jalen Rieger, is a junior. He's probably the best player on the offense that they have. And let's see, they do record with all-purpose yards. He leads with running back Darian Anderson. He had the longest play in TCU history last year. He reeled off a 93-yard touchdown run against Ohio State. So they do have a couple bright spots on the defense. They are on rebuild mode on the line, though. Like you said, you got to test them out to see how they're going to perform as a group. One thing known for sure, though, they do have defense and linebackers and safety. They're really solid there. So I think this team turns around and competes on the defensive level and look for improvements on the offensive line, like you say, early. And we have to see how this quarterback stability position fares out for this team. So I'm on the fence like you. I'm going to be watching real early in the season. Maybe as they start out, they open up at Pine Bluff, Arkansas. That should be a W for them. Then they get a week off. They play at Purdue, which could be an L. Then they have SMU and Kansas at home, which should be a W. So I see a 3-1 start early for this team and maybe finish off at about 8-4 or 7-5. And they're a little better record in conference. Maybe they flip the tables. Instead of going 4-5, maybe they go 5-4.
Well, the way I see it right here, as I looked in the schedule a little deeper, I noticed that they have 6 road games this year. They're at Purdue, at Iowa State, at Kansas State, at Oklahoma State, at Texas Tech, and also at Oklahoma. So, they better strap up tight and get ready for the road and all the bumps in the road right here. Now, another note to the quarterback situation right here, they have a top new quarterback Max Duggan. At first glance, the true freshman appears to be the third quarterback at best, yet insiders previously raved about the advanced skill and maturity of this athlete. So, they got a couple tricks up their sleeve. If one goes down, they got a little depth to handle it. They got a fairly decent young squad right here, but I say the schedule alone may set them back a few, and I'm right there with you with 6 wins, maybe 7.
Yeah, I mean that's probably where they're going to wind up that mark there. There'll be a 500 ball club. There'll be a bowl bound team, not a big bowl, but probably like a mediocre type bowl, like middle December, early December, depending on if they get that extra W or not. So we'll see what happens. Go Frogs! Go Frogs! Go Frogs!
There it is. There you heard it right here on the Boss and the Sauce show with the Big 12 college football preview for 2019. Stay seated. We got another one coming up right now.
All right, baby. Hook 'em horns time. Hook 'em horns. We're in Texas, and we're doing it big in Texas. We're talking about the Texas Longhorns, the team last year. They finished up 10-4, and who can forget that game they played against Oklahoma, right? If y'all were following me last year, you knew I was all over that one. But forget about last year. We're talking about this year. We got Tom Herman coming back for his 3rd season, and we know this guy's a winner. As he's got a gutty quarterback named Sam Ehlinger, and Ehlinger is a guy to watch on the Heisman to look because he's a winner also. He had 41 touchdowns last year, only second behind Colt McCoy's 45 touchdown season. So now we're going to talk about what this upcoming season brings for these guys. They got wide receiver Colin Johnson, who's a few yards shy of 1,000 yards. He had about 8 touchdowns, and they boast a pretty potent offense overall. Um, the rising star, they talk about Jordan Woodingham, who was picked up on a sophomore. He's a JUCO transfer, and they also bring back 5 on offense and only 2 on defense. That's kind of hard to believe. They only bring back 2 defense, and the only guys they're bringing on defense is 2 safeties. So that's going to be a tough look for them. What do you think about this squad, DJ?
Well, the way I see it, Coach Tom Herman in his third year, returning 5 on offense in 2019, but his 5 is very promising. He returns a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a few old linemen. So the offense definitely looks doable. Now the defense, they brought in defensive coordinator Todd Orlando. He'll have his work cut out for him with just the 2 back. And this defense allowed 392 yards a game last year. It'll be exciting to see what they do with that. And also, they always say that the next season starts right after the last game. Well, with that in mind, this team goes into 2019 after going 4 or 5 of their last, including the bowl game win versus Georgia. I'm very hopeful in this Texas team, but I can't lay it all out on the line until I see them on the field because of the returners on defense and what they're looking like over there. So once I get a quick peek of how they're going to be looking for the year, I'll be able to further assess them. But just from the outside right now, they got a good 8-9 wins solid. Just looking at the schedule, looking at how they adapted to the coaching system last year, not the team in essence, but the other teams that they're going to play. How did they adapt to his style of play? Are they on to his offensive schemes? We don't know. The jury's still out on a lot of that stuff, but they returned to the field this year with their work cut out. They got a decent schedule. They got to see LSU week 2. That'll be the number 1 test right there. If they come out of LSU with a W, they go an easy 10 wins plus. If they lose to LSU, they might be looking at an 8, maybe 9 win season. But that's what I feel about Texas Longhorns. I like the Longhorns. I wish them the best. But what's our final analysis on this?
All right, so the jury's not going to be out for me real early with this squad. I mean, on the defensive side, we are a little light as far as returning starters, but Todd Orlando's always had success on defense. He's got a lot of talent because they recruit very well in Texas. Like I say, Herman, he's excellent recruiter, excellent coach. So that doesn't worry me too much as far as the inexperience on the starters. They do have some underclassmen with some senior leadership coming back as far as, non-returning senior starters. So I'm not really worried about that too much. This team will compete. They do have the second best run defense, which you're going to need that over there. And I look for this team late in the season, for that Red River shootout once again, and maybe they play Oklahoma for the second time for their part in the Big 12 championship. Now, this kid Ehlinger, I look for him to be up in New York on Heisman Day. He's a Tim Tebow type quarterback. Kid's a winner. He's going to rally the troops. I see a 10-win season out of Texas.
Yeah, and to note about Ehlinger there, I was just reading across the quick notes right here. I looked in the Lindley magazine, and this just goes back to what I said about the season starts right after the last game. So in this interview right here, this was a reporter talked to the Sam Ehlinger right after the Sugar Bowl victory, and quoted, Sam Ehlinger says, "We're back." So that just lets you know this guy is focused. Like you said, he's a Heisman candidate. Really going to be somebody to have to handle right here. Let's hope he stays healthy, and then the Texas Longhorns do very good in the long stretch of things. But that's it right here on the Boss and the Sauce show. Any other thing you want to add to this one, Big Ragoo? Or are we out of here?
No, we're done with this one. We're on to the next one.
Let's go. Texas Tech's Red Raiders. And in this one, Coach Matt Wells comes over from the Mountain West, Utah State, in his first year right here at Texas Tech on the Astro Turf. We'll see what this guy can do over here. Now, he inherits a team with the tools to go next level. They have the stadium, the alumni, the facilities. They have everything set for a team that wants to get to the next level. They just been falling short. So the offense returns 7 starters led by QB Allen Bowman, and the offense averaged 37.3 games last year in 2018. It should become the same, if not better, in 2019. On the defensive side of things, they brought in new defensive coordinator. This defensive coordinator is taking them to a 3-3-5 look this year, which is more of a better look in this Big 12 conference because of all the passing. They're not run heavy. I think the 3-3-5 is a better defense to have right here for this Texas Tech team, and it might get them a little more success on defense, which is where they were lacking. Now, all the proof is in the pudding this year, and they draw a tough schedule with a new coach, but should definitely improve from 5-7 to at least 7-8 wins this year with this coach out of Utah State.
Yeah, Texas Tech. They're known as Air Texas Air Raid. So, like you said, they do have the new coach coming in from Utah State. They did keep on David Yost, who's the OC, the offensive coordinator. So he looks to keep that portion of the game intact. Now they did have 2 tough losses. They came off of a 5-7 record overall, 3-6 in conference. They had real two close games to loss with eventual championship contenders, Texas and Oklahoma. So that's a good luck. And usually what happens with teams that come off of close losses, they kind of take those losses and move forward. But like you say, first-year coach on offense and a new defensive coordinator, they were ranked towards the bottom. They were ranked like 103rd in the running game. So they definitely have to take some steps forward there in the running game. And they are young in the running back position. They have a sophomore and a freshman running back. So look for them to build on that a little bit. And overall, defensively speaking, they ranked 108th and 129th in passing. So they got some holes to fill on the defensive side on the pass game. So we'll see. There's a lot of room for improvement. First-year coach, first-year defensive coordinator. I look for this team to be in rebuild mode and maybe compete in some tough, some early games, the cupcake games. Maybe they get some W's there. I'm looking at maybe going 3-6 in the conference and maybe 5-7 overall. What do you think about that?
Well, what I see a 4-game stretch right here that they may have trouble in. They come out playing Montana State, then they go to UTEP. They play home versus UTEP, then they go to Arizona, but then they have to see at Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Iowa State back to back to back. They get a break with Kansas and West Virginia. They see TCU, Kansas State, and then they end it at Texas. So the schedule is lined out pretty tough for them this year. It's going to take a lot out of them to go next level. But with this coach coming from Utah State, type of organization that he runs, if these players over here buy into this system, then he should do well. He should do well over here at Texas Tech because his system was a little bit advanced for the Mountain West, being that it's more of an air raid type attack as well. So being that his system's right matched up into the conference that he's going to, this guy may become a contender, maybe a standout turnaround season right here. But I don't hope for it. I say 7-8 wins max, but definitely better than the 5-7 year that they had last year.
Yeah, you're being awful nice giving them 7-8 wins. I got them like 5-6 wins max, maybe bowl season early in the bowl season for this team. So we shall see what happens. And guess what? We're on to the next one.
Let's go West Virginia right here. Now, this West Virginia team in the Big 12, another first-year coach right here in Neil Brown. He steps into broken glass on this one, and he gets 3 returning starters on offense, but brings in a new defensive coordinator, Vic Cohen, who switches the defense for the 3-3-5, which I really like in the Big 12. And I'm not sure yet. It hasn't specified what he's going to switch it into. But if it works out with 6 returners on defense, the defense will have to create a new identity with this new defensive coordinator. Now, there's a lot of questions that can only be answered on the field with this team right here as well. And I wish the Mountaineers high peaks, but they could end up in all the low valleys. This West Virginia team, Mountaineers, going from an 8-4 season last year, which they played really well. I don't think they properly prepared for the coach leaving and all that kind of stuff, and they kind of left like a kid lost in a store looking for his parents. Now, if he happens to find his parents right away, they may make it on time to practice. But if he don't find his parents, it's gonna be a long night for these West Virginia Mountaineers. Anything you got to say about this team, Big Ragu?
This guy pulled a 180. Ogerson, he jumped ship and went to Houston, like you say, 8-4 last year. And I kind of like a la Jimbo Fisher did with FSU when he went over to A&M. But you know what? They lost Will Greer, a Heisman candidate. He's off to the pros in Carolina. David Sills, a wide receiver, All-American, he's gone. And the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, David Long, linebacker, he's gone. So a lot of major, major holes to fill. So I think he's seen the handwriting on the wall. Holgerson did, and like he said, he went to Houston. So first-year coach Neil Brown, he's going to have his big shoes to fill there. Now, what they did lose, or what they did gain, is they did gain some really good coaching on the defensive side, and the new coaches they got some new schemes, new talent. It's kind of putting a smiley face on a shit sandwich here, if you want to say that. I think what they're going to wind up doing overall, coming off that 8-4 record, if they go 6-6, that'll be a major accomplishment for them. Not a lot to really get excited about on the offensive side, because they are a lot of underclassmen. They do have a senior wide receiver, a senior tackle, and the senior guard, the junior guard, and Kennedy McCoy. He's the lone senior on the offensive side as far as skill position. So it's going to be a rough going for him. I got him projected, like I say, maybe 6-6 and maybe 4-5 in the conference.
Well, I'm right there with you, Big Ragu. We definitely not gonna get 8-4 out of this team right here. That's for sure. And the coach had to know something was going on to jump ship like that, especially after an 8-4 season. He's only moving over to Houston. I don't see what's the big issue going over there. So he must have knew something was going the wrong way. They get left without a quarterback right here. They got quarterback issues. I don't know. I would say the schedules are probably like a B schedule. They opened up against James Madison, at Missouri, NC State, at Kansas, Texas, Iowa, Oklahoma, at Baylor, Texas Tech. They play everybody. Nothing lets up for this team right here. I'm pretty sure after last year, there's quite a few teams out here that really want to stick it to them. So
Yeah.
that might be tough for them. And I got them right there as 5 or 6 wins. If they do better than that, they're going to do amazingly better than that, because it's going to be something going on that took them way over to the next level. But if they just do at best, like you said, 6 wins is good, 7 wins is excellent, grade A, but 5 wins is about where they should land.
Yeah, 5-6 wins more or less. I mean, they were like ranked 106 on the passing, and that's actually their strength as far as leadership comes back. They got a couple of senior, 3 seniors in the cornerback position, and a junior free safety. So, and they're going to need them because, like I say, being 106 last year, maybe they kind of stabilized the passing game on the defensive side where they might be pretty busy, and especially being in the Big 12, high octane offenses. A lot of air raid type stuff over there. Maybe that kind of help them out on the run side. So the running game, they're going to need some improvements there on the offense, some improvements on running defense. And like I say, 500 ball for this squad is going to be a major accomplishment. And that's what I got on this thing. You got anything else?
No, that's it for me. West Virginia Mountaineers, not one of my favorite teams to bet on right there. I kind of stay out the way unless it's in the Virginia Tech or something like that game. rival game or something, I might entertain it. But I don't really entertain this team that much. Even last year was a shocking 8-4, but I still stayed away. So that's just it, right? Me right there on West Virginia Mountaineers, and this is the Boston the Sauce Show, Big 12 college football preview. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell a friend. All these videos also will be in a long version, which will be each side of the conference, so the whole conference in one whole. And we'll also have the short versions as well. So however you like to get the content, go ahead, load it up, team by team, conference by conference. We got it right here, and we gonna keep it coming. Oh, let us land. Let us land this plane on this Big 12 college preview 2019 right here on the Boston the Sauce Show. It was fun, wasn't it, BigRagoo?
Yeah, you know how we do it each week. We break these games down and we bounce off one another and put the content out there. Man, we're talking about a couple week one games. And what do you think about talking about our top three in the conference?
Hey, let's get right into it, man. These people don't got no time. College football is getting close by the second right now. So let's jump into our top three in the Big 12. You want me to go first or you want to go first? Well, let's do it like this. Let's do.
Go ahead.
I'll give you my number 3, and then you give your number 3, and then we do 2, and so on. Like
All
that.
right.
All right. So
all right.
So number 3 right here in this conference for me, I'm gonna have to go with Baylor. What you think about that?
Baylor. Wow, Baylor. Well, you know what? That's probably good, just as good as any, because in this conference, we're not going to reveal our top 2, but we do agree that in this conference, once you get past 1 and 2, it kind of dips off pretty quick. So Baylor is a good look there because you do have some really bad teams at the bottom. I mean, you got 4 teams that probably couldn't beat themselves if they tried, and then there's the other 3, or other 3 or 4, and then there's the other 2. So, anyways. Let's roll with that. I'm not going to be on Baylor, but I'm probably going to take a team that's ranked towards the bottom, maybe at a surprise because of their defense. I'm going to stick the TCU Horned Frogs in at number 3.
Okay, that's a nice one right there. Now, the Baylor, I think, is going to be so impressive. They could be number 2 or number 3, but I can't look past Oklahoma, who I think won't be number 1, and I can't put them too far down there. So at number 2, I'm gonna slide in Oklahoma for the number 2 spot.
Well, I gotta agree with you on that one. I also like Oklahoma as the number 2 squad because you know who's coming up number 1, right?
Absolutely, the ones that's gonna finally beat Oklahoma in the championship game, which is gonna be the Longhorns, y'all. Got the Longhorns in the number 1 spot. Hey, you heard it right here first on the Boston the Sauce. Me and BigRagoo. Number 1 Texas, number 2 Oklahoma, and the number 3 spots. We got our own little things going on there. So let's get these people to some of this good old capping because I'm excited to cap. I'm definitely loving learning. I'm loving breaking down stuff and theorizing and looking further into certain situations. In a little while, I'm going to move over to the film side of it, but it's kind of hard to find a lot of good film of the practices. So if you're not a local and can go right out to I could go to USC practice today if I like, but if you can't make,
you got to look at the beat writers.
Yeah,
beat writers is where it's at.
Yeah, but
beat writers.
I like to have that. I like to take that eye view. So in order to get an eye test, I'm gonna on some of these teams. I'm gonna have to either wait to the first game or look at the situation where the coaches is the same from last year, so I can look at what type of defense they run, what type of offense they run, and then I can look at where those players that they have going to fit in the system. So, that's going to be my next layer after we get done from doing all these conference previews. Y'all stay tuned. They coming back to back, and they're all out there for everybody to get. It's great content. Me and my man BigRagoo, but let's get into some of those games now.
You want to break a couple games down? 2 games?
Yeah, let's take a look at the game. Let's look at one with a line right here. Now we have, and this is the best I can get out of Big 12 with a line right now, and that's Oklahoma State at Oregon State. Oklahoma State is minus 15 and a half right now.
Wow, that's a huge number for a week one game. But you know what? It's probably justified because the way that I've looked just briefly at Oregon State's defense, they're like almost dead last in scoring. They're almost dead last against the run, and they're almost dead last. Nobody's worse than them than Rutgers. Rutgers is dead last. This team is next to last. And offensively speaking, it looks like they don't have a whole lot going on either. So this could be what you call a BLOWOUT blowout in big fashion in week one. I'm going to be looking at getting all over this Oklahoma State Cowboy team early.
Yeah, that 15 and a half might go up easy to 17 by the time the game goes off. So if you're really eager, you might as well get your bet in today at minus 15 and a half. And that's a part of one of my theories. First few weeks of the season, it is a hit and miss. There's a percentage in there, but teams with large spreads take the favorite. They usually blow them out by more than that. So I definitely would ride with Oklahoma State in that game. But I'm excited to wait and see what the over-under going to look like in this game. I'm going to be leaning over in this one because both teams don't return too much defense right here. And Oklahoma State, they bend and break, so they're going to have to outscore the other team to win. And Oregon State, let's hope they can get enough offense together to score because they probably won't have any defense at all.
That's where it's going to be at with that team. So yeah, we'll be curious. We'll be curious to see.
My guy, BigRagoo, off camera said he's ready to bet this now. Okay, and if I had an overline, I would take over 60 in this game. To tell you the truth, I'd take over 60 in this one for sure. But it might come out around 64, 65. Mark my word. But even at 64 and 65, I still might take that one. Scores go up in these beginning games. Teams fumble, they throw interceptions. There's so many variables to the over in this game right here. I'll take the over on that one. But let's look at another matchup, BigRagoo. And that matchup right there is Friday, August 30th. So y'all know that's a late game, 7:30 p.m. over here on the West Coast. So I know you guys probably fall asleep on this one. But the next game's an interesting game. The line's not out yet on it, but it's Sunday, September 1st, because there's no pros. That'd be right going into Labor Day weekend, so I know y'all going to be watching this one. So Sunday, we have Houston versus Oklahoma. It's going to put Jalen Hurts to the test right here. What you think right here?
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of good looks for a lot of first-timers there. Like you say, we got Dana Holgorsen coming in, coaching the Houston squad. He's got an air attack style offense, but being a first-year coach, taking over a pretty talented Houston team, going to try to employ his system of offense there. And then you got a team that doesn't play a whole lot of defense, Oklahoma, and they were like way down towards the bottom on the defensive side that has a high-power offense. So that'd probably be, if you're looking to bet a total, that might be one you might want to look at betting over the total on the upside too. And I'm going to put a number on that game. I'm going to say 72 is going to be the total in that game.
Woo, 72 is up there, but we seen it last year. We seen over 100-point games and everything last year. So the scoring thing is getting ridiculous in the college football. So yeah, I don't know if I could take over 72 though. That's a lot of popcorn and soda to drink till you get to your point. But on the side of things, I'm gonna go ahead and go with the big school, Oklahoma, on that one. Even though we already went through Houston, and they have a really strong offense over there. But it's going to be two strong offenses together in one game, and Oklahoma may outweigh them. I'm sure Jalen Hurts, his dad played in the NFL. He's going to be prepared to go into this game, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to take Oklahoma, and it's probably going to be at -7.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a light number. I mean, even though Holgorsen's got a great air attack, I mean, it's going to come down to recruiting here. And then like you said, the transfer Hurts coming in. He's going to put a new look, not a new look, but he's going to run a new scheme under Lincoln Riley. And Lincoln Riley, he produced two back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners. And that's good enough for me. Give me the Oklahoma Sooners and a double-digit win.
There we go right there. So y'all got wonderful wonderful content. We had a fun time. We laid out some picks. We gave y'all some trends. We gave y'all some leans. If it's anything else that we missing, be sure to comment, and we'll even we'll get that with you too. And if you're right here live in the premiere, go ahead, throw your questions out there. We'd be happy to answer them. Have some fun. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys for tuning in to us, the Boss and the Sauce Show. We just taking minor steps to the big leagues, and we got a lot of things coming up. Y'all stay tuned to the Boss and Sauce Show, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock each morning. We'll let you know where and when. But that's it for me. BigRagoo, you want to tell the people some stuff?
Yeah, just like DJ says, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Each week we put this stuff out there for you guys to enjoy, and we get better as we go along also. So share your likes, comments in the chat, and look for the premiere upcoming soon. And guess what, DJ?
You probably want to see me at the window.
I want to see you at the window. I want to see everybody at the window. And guess what? We'll see y'all next week here on the Boss and the Sauce Show.
Peace.
Peace out.